Play isn't just for kids. Play is serious business. Ahoy and welcome back to another episode of The Captain's Log. This last week, I have been spending time with my 8-year-old niece, and I have learnt a lot about play. It's been a really great reminder for me, actually. When we're children, we play with no fear of judgment. We explore. We use play as a way to test boundaries, to learn new things, to learn new skills, and to develop ourselves and to develop our identity. And somewhere along the way, as we grow up, we kind of lose that magic and that art of play. Somewhere along the line, conformity sets in, things become very serious, and we begin to put the expectations on play. We don't give ourselves permission to play unless there's some kind of outcome or objective achieved or some kind of ROI. But we're really missing the point about what play really is. As adults, we wait for perfection and we never really begin. We put off the things that could help us to develop a craft or some kind of mastery or even to just explore our inner world. We don't give ourselves permission to be beginners again. When problem solving, people tend to rush to solutions. When something's going wrong, we tend to rush to try and fix the thing. That ability and permission to play extends into problem solving. Because if you can't have fun with a problem, you'll never solve it. If there is a problem or a challenge in life or within an organization, people will often rush to a solution. And when facilitating a design shop or helping a group design a solution, the real art of facilitation is holding the participants in that tension of not knowing long enough for new ways of knowing to emerge. You see, play opens up new perspectives. Play opens up possibilities. It takes us out of limitation and it puts us in a new plane of existence where we can view the problem from different angles. Play stretches our thinking. Play gives us permission to look at things in a new way. One of my teachers, Gail, said something once that was quite profound. She said, "Play is how we escape to a higher order." And I've been really sitting with that this last week while I've been spending time with my niece. And I was thinking, what does she actually mean by that? And I've started to see that in a whole new light. And the way that I see it now is that in order for us to view a problem from a different perspective, in order for us to see new ways of being and new possibilities, it's really through play, it's through the fun, it's through the exploration, because it gives us permission to let go of the seriousness. It lets us try things that we wouldn't have otherwise if it wasn't fun, if we weren't making a game from it. When we play, we allow ourselves to explore without limitation. It allows us to access imagination and creativity from a whole new plane of existence. And that's when the magic happens. That's when things can emerge that we otherwise wouldn't have allowed the space and given ourselves the permission and the time in order to surface those other alternatives. I grew up in a household where my parents would say things to me like, "What are you doing that for? That's a stupid idea," or "Why would you be doing that? It's not going to be a job," or "You're not going to make any money from that." I was in an environment where there always had to be some objective or outcome for the explorations and the hobbies and the things that I was doing for fun. And I had enough of a sense of self and identity to not let that bother me. But I do think that there's probably plenty of people out there in those environments. It could even be in your adult life where maybe you share ideas or fun things that you're doing and you might have withdrawn from your creativity or be limiting yourself in your creativity because you've had these kinds of interactions with people. That environment definitely did make me cautious about sharing the things that I was working on and the things that I was doing. The important point is that without play, we miss out on the discovery. Kids are constantly creating. They're constantly making stuff. Like I've been here with my niece. She'll get up in the morning and boom, she's making something. She woke me up the other day and we were making some chocolate egg baskets. They didn't really work out too well, but that's not the point. it's not the point. It wasn't about waiting for perfection. It was about picking something. She brought in this little cookbook of cakes and things to do, and we just picked one out of the book, and then we were off and we were making. There wasn't a hesitation around perfection. We had to get a few things, but we were going to go to town and pick up some little bits and pieces, some chocolate eggs and things like that we needed to finish these little baskets. And there was no hesitation in going through and actually starting the project. And we learned a few things from that project about what to do and what not to do next time, how to improve things. And it was a really fun experience. And it's really cool that my niece, she's got a really creative mother and father. They're both creative in different ways. So it's a very different environment to the environment that I grew up in terms of the creativity side of things, because it's really sweet how I see my niece and her parents, push each other's creativity. And my sister's very creative. And so she's always making things, doing art, little art projects and things like that. So it's a really cool little creative loop that these guys have created together. And that magic and that art of discovery is really important, not just for children, but it's also important for adults. And I think it's really important not to lose that spark of creativity and exploration. It's okay to be a beginner at something again. It's not a reason to not do something in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, because you're having to start as being a beginner, or to not be good at something when you start doing something, or to not do something because you think there needs to be some big outcome or objective or ROI on you doing that thing. It could just be for an exploration, and who knows where it goes. Play is not the opposite of work. In fact, play is what makes real work possible. And you know what? Something else is really funny. I say this every week that I do one of these podcasts, but there's always a red thread or some kind of synchronicity that happens when I do record these podcasts. And this week, as I was writing this episode and thinking about what I was going to reflect on this week, I was writing this from a pub called the Two Brewers here in Windsor. And there's a sign outside the pub, and it says this on the sign. I'll read it to you. It says, "Dedicated to life, liberty, food, drink, and other less serious matters." And that's the point. Less serious matters make life magical. So I'm asking you this week to bring back play into your process somehow. Find a way to make something that is maybe a challenge for you, some hurdle that you're trying to overcome right now. Think about how you can actually make that fun. How can you turn solving that problem into play? Because if you can't have fun with a problem, you will never solve it. Be willing to experiment. Be willing to look silly. Be willing to try new things. Be willing to be a beginner again. And often, that's when the breakthrough happens. And here are the reflective questions for this week. Where have you stopped playing? How could play shift your current challenge? And what's one playful experiment you could try this week? And that's it for this episode of The Captain's Log. I hope you guys enjoyed that episode. I hope it inspired a little bit of a spark of creativity and permission to play. I'd love to hear how your experiments go this week, so do put a note in the comment there. And if you want to learn more and join the community of other people just like you who are learning systems thinking, learning to overcome challenges, learning to navigate all the complexity in the world and do it while having a bit of fun, then you can join the leadership community. There's a link to the school community in the description below. And other than that, until next week, hold fast.